6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are very, very excited to bring to you the first ever episode of Her Tech Space, organized by Nova's Innovation Initiative. I know some of you are joining us from across the world. Of course, I want to let our viewers know that we have a world-class members joining us tonight. We have people from Canada, Uganda, Saudi Arabia, UK, South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Liberia, China, Sierra Leone, Germany, Italy, Cameroon. I can't read them all. You're so many. That is according to our statistics. But also what you can do for us is in your chat, we are super excited. Of course, I'm not alone for tonight, and later on, I'll be introducing to you the distinguished panel, the men and women that are going to describe and have conversation, meaningful conversation that you can use for future reference. Of course, also I want to let you know, we're going to have a Q&A session that you can ask the panelist of your choice. But again, you're not limited. Feel free to ask the questions and we'll be able to answer them by the end of this conversation. Allow me to give you a little snippet of what this conversation is going to be about from the background of the African continent. Africa is the youngest and fastest growing continent in the world. It is estimated that by 2030, the number of young people in the African labor force will increase to 375 million, meaning there is a significant gap between the number of young people seeking work and the limited opportunities that are available for them. However, this significant increase of youth in African countries can be capitalized on because it's where the innovation and the energy of the continent lies. Therefore, technology adoption is very, very critical in such an era. And for us to utilize and leverage on this resource, which are the African youth, we have to adopt technology. Now, allow me unleash to you the distinguished panel that is seated with me tonight. Ron Kawamala. He is a techpreneur, an entrepreneur, a tech enthusiast, and seasoned business executive in e-commerce and general merchandise. He is currently the chairman E-Trade and Startup Association Uganda, but prior to this, he doubled as the group and Jumia Uganda CEO. He has co-founded Hello Food, Hemora Groups, among other entities. Ron holds a master's degree from Oxford University in the UK, and he had his bachelor from University of California, Berkeley, United States. Ron, you're most welcome for tonight's episode of Her Tech Space.
Thank you, Fiona, for inviting me. I'm very excited to talk and to listen and to learn. So thank you so much for this opportunity.
That was Ron. Thank you so much, Ron. Another panelist tonight is Jackie Namanda. She is a worker at Amazon Prime USA, and she's a front-end engineer with Amazon based in Seattle, Washington. She brings to the panel more than 5 years of expertise in the tech industry, and she's very passionate about bridging the gender digital divide in STEM, but majorly to the women and the marginalized. Another one, we have Dr. James Kisoro. He is the founder and the CEO BuildBrain Technologies. And he is also working as a part-time lecturer with Makerere University School of Computing and Information Sciences. He is a mentor with BOAB Mentorship Program, a MasterCard Foundation initiative, but he's also a yearly fellow. He's devoted to empowering young people and developing their capacities. His PhD was from Commonwealth University. He had a master's from University of Portsmouth in UK, but he's also an alumni of London Graduate School. Dr. James, you're most welcome, sir. And finally, to our panel. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and finally, pleasure to be here.
The pleasure is all ours, sir. And finally, to our panel tonight is Joyce Namule. She is a front-end engineer at Coolblue, one of Netherlands' largest web shops, and she's currently based in Rotterdam and with over 5 years of experience developing web apps using cutting-edge technology. Her desire to solve problems led her to switch careers from professional teacher to now a software engineer who has traversed the world because of the desire she desires in her heart for technology. Joyce, we are pleased to have you tonight.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm glad to be here.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. I know they can't hear you because I'm with them in another safe space, but if you're on YouTube, on Twitter Spaces, just put those hands, while they're clapping for our panelists. We are super excited to have them. Just allow me to dive into the conversation tonight. It's going to be power-packed and deep because, again, we want to use the brains that we have with us tonight. Africa's youth is its most valuable resource because this is where innovation and the energy actually lies. The best way to utilize this resource is through the adoption of technology. I believe so because I've seen it. Ron, how important is technology in our era?
Well, I think that technology is part and parcel of everyday life. I mean, there's been the first industrial revolution where people mechanized agriculture. The second industrial revolution where we actually went to manufacturing. But this is the third one, whereby we are not just mechanizing, but we're automating. We're using artificial intelligence that actually we can self-develop, that machinery can self-improve. And so you can imagine the value of technology in everything that we do, from what we eat, how we move, where we sleep, how we work. Basically, technology has played a critical role, and it will continue to play this role. The difference, however, is that are we going to be participants? Are we going to be makers of this technology? Or are we going to be consumers? Because as you can imagine, the first and the second industrial revolutions for Africa, for Ugandans, for young people, for women, we have been basically consumers of that. We've not been participants. We've not been creators of this. And now on this last phase, which is innovation, artificial intelligence, which is technology, automation, the question is, are we going to be also consumers of this, or are we going to be stakeholders, creators? And so technology is extremely important. And more so at a consumption level, all of us, especially Ugandans, all of us young people are consumers of technology. That we all have smartphones, we all have all these applications, whether for food or for social media. And so, as you can imagine, how the city economy developed, that businesses went where people are and vice versa, and people go where businesses are. So it's basically self-fulfilling. Now, we know that there's more people on Facebook and WhatsApp than on radio, than on any city. There's no city as big as WhatsApp. There's no city as big as Facebook. So we know that people are congregating and meeting on technology platforms. So the sky is the limit, what you can do there. It's like having a city of 1 billion people. Facebook is a city of more than 1 billion. WhatsApp is a city of billions. Even in Uganda, these platforms are cities of millions and billions, so millions of people. And so that tells you about the value of technology. The value of technology, you can say it's important. It's only as important, it's only as critical as what you do with it. And that's, for me, where the discussion should be.
And I want to actually, Ron, you've put it right. Are we going to be consumers of the technology, or are we going to be stakeholders or creators? And I believe that that's actually where we're having this conversation, because I'm of a school of thought that Africa and Uganda at large is the next powerhouse of technology for the world. If the median age is 15.8 years of age for Uganda alone, and if you go down to Niger, it's 15.2 years, meaning that these people are still young. And it brings me to the next question to Dr. James. What is then the role of technology in our era when it comes to e-learning versus physical learning? If there is anything COVID-19 taught us was technology is not a luxury, but rather a necessity. Where do we stand?
Thank you, Fiona. I think you introduced the very essence of technology in learning very well when you talk about COVID. It took us, I think, 180 degrees from where we were in terms of what we knew education to be, to a whole new world that someone in Kampala can wake up today and attend a lecture in the US, in the UK, in China, or anywhere. And when you look at the world in terms of advancement of technology, especially for education, I think it's a very big opportunity for us to leverage, to know that within the confinements of our educational systems, the curriculums, the limitations of resources, we can now be able to reach out into the outside markets for education. And looking at its reach, looking at its potential that someone can attend education in the comfort of their home, in their workplace desk, without necessarily having to travel to school every day or every other now and then. That presents a flexible mode of learning that can easily bridge the educational gap skills. But it also comes with the benefit that for people that would otherwise have been locked out of the educational system due to lack of physical infrastructure, we very well know that in our African continent, education is still a struggling sector. You'll find the schools well set up in the city, but a few kilometers out, you find not very pleasant schools. A person who is in a remote area having an internet connection is as good as someone who's in Kampala when it comes to opening up the education sector to be able to access learning. So that is very critical when it comes to thinking about how we can really progress with technology as an enabler for learning. When it comes to the investment in education, thinking about putting up a school, a physical school, and the comparison to setting up a digital maybe school, what you need to set up with our economy still shaping up. You think about this as an opportunity for us to really go a very long way in bridging some of those gaps that all our people can afford education. If we can invest in, for example, power, which our governments are doing very well at, if they can continue investing in internet and other similar resources that take technology and all its potential to the people wherever they are. Thank you. And maybe to also tap on something that is aligned to the subject matter for today. When you think about how we bring more ladies, girls, women into the tech space, you think about them already in the sector, already in the marketplace, doing different works. How do we make sure that they can acquire additional skills that can find value in the technology space, which has a lot of potential for them? And they don't have to leave their current maybe sectors, but to just enhance their potential to be able to maybe innovate or fit within what the requirements of the sectors are. This is a potential of e-learning to bridge that gap by opening up maybe different training opportunities for them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Actually, you make so much sense. In COVID, those of you who are ardent learners and the students of life, you noticed you got an opportunity to study from Oxford, minus stepping there. You had an opportunity to go to MIT and get something, and you didn't need actually to be in that space. Again, this brings me to now my next question. The West is light years ahead of Africa in technology. Joy, what is being done differently in the Netherlands that you think could help boost Africa, Uganda, to be the next powerhouse in the land?
Thank you, Fiona. There are many factors that are hindering us as Uganda or as Africa, which may include corruption, government policies, infrastructure. We don't have any, or we have but a few. But I'm going to discuss mainly about something that the person hearing right now can change, because they might say, I have nothing to do with corruption. They might say, I have nothing to do with infrastructure, but they
Joy,
can change their mind.
Before before you shed a light to what can be done, could you shed for us a picture if Netherlands is light years ahead in technology from Africa or Uganda? What is it that you're doing differently? And then later on, you can give us a shed on how best we can come up front to catch up with Netherlands or Europe at large.
The West or Europe at large has data systems in check. There is data connected at a very fast pace that you can't imagine, that the trash can is connected to your MacBook, is connected to your student life, is connected to your housing life. The entire system is connected and it is all at one. That it is, even if you lose something, you are confident, I will get it, because there is a system, there is infrastructure that is enough for me to get that very thing or that information I need in a second. I don't have to bother. There is fiber internet, which is a shock, like 2000 Mbps. In Africa, that is a dream, having even 25 or 30 Mbps at a very cheap price. So yeah, internet is like a necessity. How do you leave a house without internet? How can you even not have Wi-Fi? Yet in Africa, just having 10 Mbps to be on Twitter or just send a message, that is like, you can live with it. So there is a lot of, in the West, there is investment towards data and how data moves and how data is stored so that it is easily accessible. And that also involves the infrastructure that is set up to make sure that that data is secure and it is safe. That goes to the identification. There is IBN or the central identities that each person has. The moment the person is born, there is an ID that they have to move with till they die. That is identifiable to anyone. And that is also due to the systems and the tech that is connected to it. In Africa, to say someone is born, okay, national IDs exist, but how can you track it? There is no systems in place to make sure that we even know, actually, Uganda is 48 million right now. We just say, oh, we are 48, we are 49. But how sure are we that we are 48 million? How sure are we that Kenya is that size it is talking about? So there is a lot of infrastructure which tech can help if it is put in place, that we need back home in Africa to make sure that we have the data right, to make sure that data is accessible right, to make sure that data is got at the right time, when what doctor was talking about in schools. If we have this data for curriculum and everything in the right place, and we are sure it is the correct data, it's the correct information, the curriculum is backed up and is very secure. We just know wherever you go, you can study SST. And we are sure it's what you are supposed to study. You're not just on YouTube watching videos. So
yeah,
I think if there is a data gap on how data is managed and how it's stored and how it is brought back to the people who need it. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that is very powerful. From Joy's experience, it's the data, infrastructure, and internet. Jackie, what is the case for the United States? Do you share the school of thought like Joy for Europe?
Yes, definitely. I have the same thought, but just to add on to that, in the United States, I believe one thing that they have understood is that, I think you also mentioned it, Mrs. Fiona, that it's not a luxury. Technology is a necessity. Internet is a necessity. And with that, they have mutated and learned how to build, how to make mistakes, how to unlearn, how to evolve. And this has taken them time, but they've done it. While in Africa, we were still trying to figure out if somebody needs even just a laptop, if somebody needs internet, if it is a necessity in any case. The Western world, or even just America, was taking risks. They are really not afraid to take risks. I'll give from my experience, I have noticed that when somebody has an idea, like a moonshot, they'll bring it up on table and it will be implemented almost right away. And this kind of decisions are mostly considered as two doorway, that it can be done and undone. But this has come from years of understanding that risks need to be made, mistakes need to be made to learn from them. And that's something that I have personally experienced even from my job, that you have the liberty to do something and with very little or very almost no red tape. You're given the opportunity to learn and dream. You know, we have to bring in the conversation of dreaming, and some dreams are usually so big, but the Western world does not have any, or hardly does it have red tape for someone who is dreaming. They'll give them that opportunity, and that's something I have personally observed and witnessed in the Western world. And I basically think if we also get the same idea in Africa, that somebody can have an idea and they can implement it and they can undo it, basically resources, investment. I think Joyce mentioned that as well. All those things make a very comfortable or a very fertile ground for technology to grow. Because technology it's not something that you can learn in one day. It takes time. So if it takes that much time, then we need to invest in it. We need to unlearn. We need to build. We need to research. We need to understand. We need to utilize the data that Joyce was talking about. We need to get into those conversations and invest in those things. Basically, that's what I can add. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jackie. I've noted something very important you have noted. You said there is no red tape for someone trying to dream. Ron, allow me come back to you. You've traveled and you're one of the people who have traversed at least all the continents. What's your school of thought in this regard?
Yeah, I agree indeed that we do need an enabling environment, that young people feel they have an opportunity right from the young age. I mean, if we go back, our education system is extremely flawed, whereby we expect that by P7 you should know which subjects you need to do. And then once you get to secondary school, you should really know what you want to do. By the time you go to university, you really are boxed in. But we see that innovation indeed has no boundaries. That some of the biggest innovators are not necessarily the engineers we're talking about, right? That, business developers are big innovators who use technology. People in logistics, people in payments, absolutely. So now our education system is extremely boxed in. It's not allowing for the freedom of mind, of thought. And so that's when we're educating doers and not thinkers. We're educating the body and not the mind. So we know that. Then after you've left the university and all that, then you go out to the real world. You realize very quickly that once you're in the real world, and even if you have a good idea, that there's no funding. We have very good ideas here in Uganda of people who these ideas are stolen by foreigners and by Kenyans and so on and so on. When you go to a funding source, say a bank in Uganda, they will say, okay, show me proof of concept, show me proof of revenue. But the nature of technology and innovation is that it's disruptive. It's not even proven technology. It has to be obviously something new and something different. So there's a lot of challenges. The fundamentals are not there. They do not support innovation in Uganda. So we know that. But that's exactly why it's also a real opportunity for young people, is that this chaos is exactly why we need disruptors, why we need somebody who can organize it. And to give an example, that even when we started seeing innovation, say in the US in the 90s, access to internet was very limited. In fact, even more limited than we have in Uganda. And so there's no country where innovation has been led by government intervention. This is something that we young people have to take on. We need to understand that if you're going to rely on technology to build a whole new world, that you're on your own. There's nothing government will do. You're on your own, and that's where the opportunity is. That's why we need individual innovators, not government collective action. There's nowhere where this has worked. So I encourage our young people, rather than looking to government, look inwards, look to your classmates, look to your colleagues, and don't say, I am not an engineer, or I am, no. And if you're not an engineer, find an engineer in your class, in your group. Maybe you're an accountant, maybe you're a marketing expert. Join with somebody who is a coder, a developer, and together you have a team, a marketing expert, you have a coder or an engineer, you have an accountant, and together you have a team that can scale an idea from this is the problem, this is the solution, how do we monetize it, right? So, but should we look for the fundamentals or the infrastructure to be there? Look for the internet to be affordable and free. Look for logistics to be fixed. Look for the payment solutions to be in place. We will not innovate. And for me, that's the opportunity of the entrepreneurs, of the innovators, that we take advantage of this chaos. We take advantage of the fact that the government has not organized transport in Kampala. That's why Self-Border was born. We take advantage of the fact that people need to send money. Businesses need to collect cash. Businesses need proper accounting tools. We take advantage of all those and create business and create value. And so for every issue that you see, that is expensive. For every issue you see is an opportunity that is waiting for one of us, the young people, to step up and say, I am going to put together a group of friends, maybe at school, maybe former schoolmates, and say, we can do this. And that for me is
can do this.
Yes.
Yeah, we can do this indeed. And very fundamentally, you mentioned the education system is boxed in. I think I want to agree with you, but then that brings me to one of our panelists, from being a professional teacher to a software engineer locally and now in Europe. Jace, when did you realize the role of technology? When did you realize that technology was the way to go? What is your story like?
I think I knew that it was tech for me before I even understood tech. Or even understood.
But you were a teacher. You go do a Bachelor of Science in Education. You do physics, math. You teach for some time. Why technology at the end? Why do you switch the careers?
There was a lot of ups and downs in there that a lot of things happened, because even me doing education, it's something that just came up like, oh, the government has given it to you, go and do it. But in me, actually, my first thought was telecom engineering. I think by that time in 2010, it was a thing. Like, if you do telecom, you are the person. And but even way before that, I remember when I was in primary 5, I remember my mom pushing me to learn how to use a computer by then it was just playing solitaire and stuff. But her, as a single mother, I remember she triggered something in me about computers and fixing problems. That's where I started from. I didn't know it was tech. I didn't know anything, but I just saw myself feeling like I want to fix things. And as I grew, I realized actually it's fun and passion, that there's a passion for me when I use a computer. So it started to grow like that. And when I was a teacher, that was 2014 there, I was teaching, which was good. And actually, I love teaching for a meantime, because I feel like I'm impacting people's lives. I'm changing kids' lives. I'm like seeing a kid who didn't know mathematics, and then at the end of the term, they have a 70. It was very beautiful. But it reached a point when, oh, this is routine. This is not the me I wanted to see. Yes, I'm changing lives, but there is something I'm looking for my life. I want to stand on a problem, think about it, research about it, and see how it can change someone's life. So that's when I realized that I have to make the bold move. I know it looks stupid, it looks foolish, because people called me names when I was like, you know what, I'm done. Here's my resignation, and I'm moving on. to where I went to a consultancy. By then it was Andela, and you know how it's not a direct route, like, okay, so what are you going to do with them? I didn't know. All I knew is that they've given me a job. So you've left something that will give you stable income to this thing by whites. You don't even know how it works. Yeah, as long as it's in your passion, like this doesn't make sense. But through the bootcamp I had with Andela, it was only 2 weeks, but I knew this is what I'm looking for. I want to sit down, give me a problem, let me draw it out on paper, let me show you how the solution will look like. And I will know the user of this solution I'm building. To me, that was enough. The moment Andela showed me that, I was like, this is what I'm looking for. I can quit teaching, I can move forward as long as I know I'm going to build a solution that is going to impact lives as I was doing in teaching. That's how I made the bold move. Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joy. Actually, it's something to someone that is watching us. If you could hear very vividly Ron, political science, African development studies, why tech? What's your story?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I was in business by accident. I'm actually more into academia. When I did my undergrad, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I did a degree in political science, I did development economics and behavior science. So I actually did a triple degree. So because I was absolutely didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was doing it at the University of California, Berkeley, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area. And as you know, the San Francisco Bay Area is home to all the tech companies, Facebook, Google, you name it. And I did internships with several startups, and I liked the culture. I liked that young people were waking up in jeans and t-shirts and trying to take on the challenges of the day. And these guys were, I think the US was out of ideas, and they were looking at Asia and Africa and trying to find solutions. And I'm like, these people are here and they're trying to find solutions for Africa. Who gave them this right? I wanted to know what was driving. So I started to intern with them. Then my first job was with a company called People Connect. And this company was helping startups who were looking for talent, looking for engineers like Joyce and Jackie, but they couldn't afford to pay them. So they would, instead of paying them a salary, they would pay them in equity, in options. So you work for free, but you take a stake in the business. And so I got to learn a lot about tech, and I got interested in the disruptiveness and how people were just coming up with all these sorts of ideas. So then, but I knew that my real interest was in academia. So I enrolled in Oxford actually in a PhD program, so which I cut short. So it became a master's, but my goal was to do a PhD. I would have been like my friend here, James. Then was about what do I do after my degree, and that's when I decided to come back to Uganda without a real plan. And so the good thing is that people had met at Oxford, and that's why the power of collaboration. We're starting Jumia Nigeria at the time, and I came here to do Hello Food. So the first business we did here was basically the first online company in Uganda called Hello Food, connecting restaurants to customers. And the rest is history, but was a happy accident. My interests in tech from my time in San Francisco, and the fact that I was trying to be like those kids with jeans and t-shirts, trying to solve problems that I was seeing around me.
Yeah, wow, that's quite amazing from Ron. And that brings me actually to the next question to Doctor. Doctor, what do you think that can be done differently in our education system to cater for as many people as possible, whether non-tech or tech? Because what we are seeing from Ron is he is not a tech person, He is in political science. The zeal, the passion, the collaboration leads him to start up something that is tech related. Do you think there is something that can be done?
Thank you, and thank you, Ron. I see a lot of connectivity in our discussion that even for this, I'll start from Ron's submission. When you see a political scientist turning out to be a technology entrepreneur of Ron's magnitude, then you know that technology is actually not for only those that study technology, whether from the first level or anywhere, but anyone who has the passion, who can be equipped, who can be exposed to what technology can do and its potential, can find a footing in technology. He already mentioned that you don't have to be an engineer to be able to innovate. You don't have to be a technologist to be able to innovate and do business in technology. And I think that's where we start from, that looking at our curriculum, we need to think about, first of all, introducing courses that really have strong understanding of our problems, of our society's problems, because that's where technology comes into to make a difference. When you talk of e-commerce, when you talk of Jumia, when you talk of Rocket Health, when you talk of all these innovations, they start from understanding that there's a problem. There's a problem in our society. Technology is just an enabler. So can we have technology mainstreamed more in every sector of our learning, from agriculture, that an agriculturalist will think about how they can use technology to find solutions to agriculture problems. You think about environment, an environmentalist is thinking about how can I use technology as an enabler to find environmental solutions. But also, I think it's very important to think about the practicality of how we teach our courses overall in our curriculums, that we really need to move away from the 1960 curriculum that was handed down to us by the colonial government, to live in the modern times, to think about what problems do we face today. By then we had maybe a handful of millions of people in Uganda. Now we have Kampala city full of jam. How do you think about finding or studying transport? How do you think about finding solutions to that? We didn't have so much of environmental concerns as we do today. How do you think about learning environments? Do we still use the curriculum that was handed down to us then? Or do you think about it in terms of the reality of today? And thinking about agriculture, Saron already mentioned the agrarian sector, the agrarian revolution. That was there. That was the time. Agriculture was driving development, but now it is technology. How can we think of learning agriculture in today's sector, in today's 21st century? So I think it's, first of all, mainstreaming technology as part of all our learning, regardless of which background someone is coming from, but also improving on the practicality of how students learn in these courses, that by the end of the day, when you come to a student who has finished any course, they can think about their sector and how they can find solutions, and finding those solutions, knowing the potential of technology to be able to leverage it, its reach, its impact, its ease of delivering way more than the physical reach. That is going to be very important. And maybe to also think about the skilling, that even when someone studies a traditional course, well, the traditional word being used in context, they can still continuously evolve, continuously acquire more skills. And this is where we also think about, do we only think about a 4-year degree, or do we also find as much value in the professional courses, introduce more avenues that can provide people with these kinds of skills, so that at the end of the day, knowing how dynamic technology is, someone who studied 10 years ago can still be able to keep up to speed with the advancements, with the changes in the sector.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Doctor, for that submission. The practicability of how students learn, that is very core. Jackie, you are in a tech space. I know for a fact, because I'm an engineer, it's very male dominated. How did you get your footprint in, and what has made your foundation solid to date?
I so yes, definitely it's male dominated, that's right. And we have ascertained that there is definitely a box. So, but there's a place where we have to think outside the box. I think I've had that term from when I was a child. Thinking outside the box, being unpredictable, being willing to think on your dreams because they are valid. There's something about thought that I know about. As somebody constantly thinks about something, there's a place where they push through beyond what is given. I know that personally. And this is something that I would talk about in a sense that as we are given opportunity, for example, we have spoken about how there's the issues with the education system and all these things. But I assure you, we have the opportunity to change the narrative. And for me personally, you've asked about me personally, it's that I had an opportunity of a kind of parents who would experiment with me, like they would walk the journey with me, for example. If I mentioned I wanted to do this, but because initially I had so many abilities that it wasn't certain where I was going to land. Like, for example, I had like Ron, I was doing political science and all these things, but he didn't stop at that. He acted upon all those things and also went into the passion that he had. I had a passion for technology from the first time I set my eyes on a Windows 98 computer. And from that point on, and that computer was given to me, or it was my father's computer, right? And my father was so okay with me messing with it. So that was, it was a fertile training for me, basically, to make mistakes. I messed up a lot in my journey, learning how things work, learning how hardware works, because I started off in hardware and IT and some end user support as a hobby, right? So as I went on, I was trusted by my family, by my friends, and all those kind of things. So that built confidence, right? As I went on. So when we speak of tech being male dominated and how I got into it, that's how the story begins. From having parents who realize that there's something distinctive about her. She's different. She's not just a normal child, like the usual. And giving me those opportunities to fix their phones, copy information, like I think Joyce was talking about data, copying data. I don't know, that time the phones used to copy from SIM card to phone, from phone to SIM card. If you remember the phones that came with in the first place, creating a V card, something like that. I used to do those things with my parents, those simple tasks. So that's how I got into it. And that's what built my confidence. And I feel like because we have an opportunity to raise children at a certain point, we should give them that same opportunity that we have been given, Joyce, Ron, and Doctor. That is a very great place to start in making mistakes at home, right? So being that it's male dominated, I'll still go back to that. It can be a little bit intimidating, but that's the beauty of acting on your dreams. Because the more you give them time to, I want to call it incubation, because that's what we do even with software. Incubating your dreams, and because they are valid, at a certain point, because you are thinking outside the box, there are people who are just gifted to identify people like you who have those goals, who have those dreams. And once you have prepared, I understand now the value of preparedness, like preparing for an opportunity to come. When it comes, you have prepared, right? So even when that opportunity comes, yes, it's a male-dominated world, but if you have what it takes, nothing can stop you. You understand what I mean? Equipping yourself with the skills.
Jackie,
Yes, please.
to
Yeah.
allow me to just ask something small to a person
Yeah.
who is viewing you on YouTube and Twitter Spaces. What are some
Correct.
of those things to date that have made your foundation so solid? Because maybe there was a time you were leaving, but again you stayed. Share for them a picture.
I feel like, yeah, for me, it has always been about my dreams. Like I'm somebody who believes in myself, I should say.
Mm.
It's something I have learned over time. And I guess I mentioned, it came from my parents. Like they would always constantly tell me that you can do it. You can do it. Anything you think on, you can do. So that confidence it brought in me a place of, I think it's safe for me to try things and make mistakes and undo them and redo and identify something else and do it and try and keep track of the mistakes I have made and evolve. That's something. And also, I guess I should talk about diligence. It's an aspect that that we have to talk into or just look into. Diligence. I was accorded the same. I come from Uganda as well, right? We have talked about how it's hard to access internet, but with the dreams I had, I identified that I would not give up personally. Like I would keep pushing. I would keep going to places to find good internet and stay up at night and read this and access this and reach out. Up to this day, I reach out to people I don't know. Like I find out that you know something, I will reach out to you. And I say, hey, how are you doing this? How are you figuring out this? How are you identifying this? So those are things that I personally, with that confidence, I reach out to people I don't know. I ask questions. I ask for mentorship. I reach out to people about mentorship all the time. I've never stopped. I identify somebody on LinkedIn that has something I need. I will reach out to them and say, hey, I've seen you build this application. That's a cool application that you have built. Can you show me how you did it? Can you send me any information? Can you send me any documentation? Because what we need is, actually, it is with other people sometimes. So also reaching out to other people has helped me very, very greatly. Yeah. So, and that's exactly even how I somehow made a foot in the door. Because when you are thinking outside the box, you attract certain opportunities because you're unpredictable at that point. Predictability does not attract. I think a certain man that I really greatly admire said that predictability does not attract. It does not attract anything. Distinctiveness attracts. There are things that come to people who are very unpredictable. There are things that come to people who think outside the box. And that is that's the level ground that we've all been given. Literally, we've all been given 24 hours. We've been given oxygen to breathe. We've been given hands, legs, feet, or whatever that may look like. And utilizing those things in certain ways helps us grow our skill, our mindset, our attitude, our attitude towards life and the different things that we've been accorded. So I don't know if I've answered your question, but those are some of the things that have actually helped me personally. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jackie. And for me, I think also as we are growing, parents have a big role because you are the first role models before these artists come in to your children. I think we have to be very intentional. I've seen that with Joy, and it's the same thing with Jackie. But Ron, currently we have a problem, not only in Africa, but also in other parts of the world. A lot of mismatch in the skills of young people and in the workforce and the needs of the employers. How can the private sector provide an enabling environment to give skills and extend to these young graduates in tech? Is there anything that can be done?
Thank you for that question. Well, I think one of the things that we've learned in the last maybe 10, 15 years is learning is constant. That the skills that you have now will not apply tomorrow. COVID-19 exposed a lot of things. We saw companies who didn't even have communications, that when people had to work from home, they had nowhere to communicate. Some of them didn't have emails. Some of them had never used Zoom. And so the companies that suffered the most are the companies that had no prior experience and proper skills that are important for this century. Now, what we have in Uganda is obviously a skill gap of the skills that are required to compete globally. Now, the hard skills we have, obviously, we go to these universities and we are taught mathematics and we do biology and we do all these things and we are very extremely smart. The challenge is that employers are not looking for that. Employers are looking for the soft skills. Can you critically analyze issues? Can you have the right temperament to deal with the challenges and the complexity of business? Can you analyze data and offer solutions? So all the things that we have not been exposed to as Ugandans. And so we are at a huge disadvantage that today, if you meet a graduate from Makere, even with a first-class degree, regardless of the field they have studied, I do not have those core soft skills that we're all looking for in the workplace today. So what does that mean? We're not going back to university, and I'm not suggesting that we go back and ask for a refund for our degree. It's too late. But what we can do is that the new world is always a permanent, lifelong learning, that we have to take it to ourselves and learn. These skills that I'm talking about of data analysis, critical thinking, all those skills that you can learn, and you can learn by yourself. And I'm not suggesting only by yourself, but there's plenty of tools and resources online, offline. And so for all young people out there, I will tell you this, based on the education, even this, I have to say that even abroad, I did part of my high school in Los Angeles. They did California for my university, Oxford. I can tell that no one is really prepared to live in university. There's this assumption that only Ugandans are not prepared. And Ugandans are grossly unprepared, but so as all the other students as well across the country, across the globe are unprepared. And those who are winning, those who are excelling, and those who are learning the big jobs, solving the problems of today are those who choose to keep learning even after university, are those who seek out these soft skills that I'm talking about. There's no classroom that will give you these skills. It's pure interest. You have to really seek it out. You have to really learn how to analyze data. You have to really learn how to critically think. You have to really learn how to apply your temperament to your job, and make sure that you acquire these soft skills. They're soft because they're not tangible. I cannot just hand them over to you. I cannot give you a textbook to learn them. You have to get them, apply them, practice them, and then you own those skills. So I suggest that please, let's get the habit of being lifelong learners. When you're a lifelong learner, you're going to be prepared for the challenges of tomorrow, for the business needs of tomorrow. And what I see, however, because I've interviewed maybe thousands of people, and I've spoken to many young people, and we have a long ways to go as a country individually. So if you're looking for game-changing action, something that's going to move you from your career to the next, or it's going to move your business from where it is to the next level, work on yourself, work on your skills, and become a lifelong learner.
So, Guana, I think that's very powerful. I want to remind the audience that is streaming in on YouTube and on our Twitter spaces that you have a freedom to ask any question to any panelist of your choice. We're going to have that session, of course, as we go down the hill of this conversation, but also feel free to just ask an open science. What is the role of mentorship now that we've heard from all these panelists, the motivations, the role models? What is the role of mentorship for someone kickstarting a career in tech?
All right, thank you. People growing skills in these sectors, as we talk about people developing through them. there's always need for hand-holding, and there are people who have been there. And that's where you start from, to know that a person who is going to be an engineer tomorrow might have this interest, just as our friend Jackie has just been telling us. She had this passion, the parents supported her, and they walked with her through her trying and learning and making mistakes. That's very important, but it also comes with the benefit of knowing that someone who might have been there already could have something to say or something to offer for you to avoid a pitfall that they might have encountered. And that is very instrumental in someone moving fast through the career or the journey they want to take. Let's have this starting as early as possible, that when you think about girls, for example, or boys going into technology, where does it start from? As early as nursery maybe, or preschool, they should already have some concepts of what things impress them, what things do they desire to do in the future. And I think we always ask these questions: what do you want to be when you grow up? There are those who want to be doctors, there are those who want to be engineers, there are those that want to be pilots, there are those that want to be all sorts of things. How do we translate that raw, innocent energy and passions and wishes into reality? I think that's where you start from now, thinking about how does this young child start to be exposed and guided and directed in the way that will lead them to what they really desire, not the kind of situations which we often see, that someone finishes university, for example, and then thinks about what are they going to be. So let's start from that point of knowing that early childhood mentoring is also very important. When we move from that, you think about a person who has already maybe graduated and they need to be exposed to the workplace. Yes, we do internship, we do all these industrial trainings, but someone who has a mentor will find an easy footing. Why? Because they already have a mentor with a network, that whereas a person who is on their own may start asking and applying and all that, a mentored person will already know that maybe asking that mentor, where can you recommend me for internship, or where can you have me get a placement? It feels more like an obligation for the mentor to really support this person all through. I've done that. I've experienced that it really feels like you have this responsibility to guide this person and find that they get to where they're going. So that is that the network of the mentor actually does end up benefiting the mentee, and in so doing, they get exposed to so many opportunities. I'll talk about that, especially in the context of entrepreneurship or innovation, where you find that maybe a graduate has finished school, they have a good idea that they want to put out there. They are short on resources to really move their idea forward. Mentors are often people who may not say that they're going to come in to work with you every time, but they will maybe offer some support that will be very vital for you to see the next day of your innovation, to see maybe another year. And if they can't do it themselves, they always might know someone who might have something to offer you for you to be able to bring your idea to life. So that is very important. And I think it is an opportunity that, as we talk about expanding the technology space to absorb more people, both male and female, we think about having more mentors on board. And this is something that I would challenge Novus on, that from this kind of initiative, let's also have that level of indulgence, that the young people who are listening in here have a platform where they can apply either for mentorship. Let there be employers who will people senior in the sector who can come in to offer themselves. I myself am very glad to maybe have one or two more mentees to tag along. I believe there's so many people out there who want to also contribute to expanding this space. Let's reach out to them.
Yeah.
Let's give these young people a platform where they can be profiled, where they can get these kinds of connections, which end up translating into careers at the end of the day. It is also something that may also be handy to think about psychological support. young people go through so much, both physical, mentally, emotionally, and sometimes maybe parents may not be the best fallback position, friends may not be the best fallback position, and especially when it comes to careers. When you have a mentor, it's a person that, well, it's a relationship that is really beyond just knowing that you get skills. If it's a person that you really trust and you can talk to about maybe work challenges, these are people who have so much potential to sustain a career. If you're making a decision and you want to maybe bounce it off someone, it may not be your dad. Your dad may not really understand why or what you're trying to do. A mentor will give you a professional perspective, devoid of emotion, and I think that's very important still in scaling the career path. So those five for me make a difference, and that's why we need mentors on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. James. Actually, I agree. I'm the same school of thought with him. I, for one, I have like 2 mentors. And of course, I'm in that space where maybe you could think you don't need them. Maybe also for the viewers that are watching us, I'm going to talk to all the panelists. This should be the first people that provide that mentorship service. Of course, if you registered on the link, we will be having a WhatsApp group. We intended to open it after this webinar. We're going to be sharing opportunities, jobs, links to masters, PhD, name it. But also we'll be able to upgrade it and be able to link you to mentors in and outside Uganda, anywhere. We'll have that coming up, Dr. James. We pledge to that. But also, if you're just kickstarting your career, you should know one thing. We already have an offer from B-Brain Technologies. We'll be giving a few scholarships. Some courses will be opened up for a few people. Again, all those privileges will be gotten for those that, that will make it to that WhatsApp group. Joyce, I want to come back to you. I loved your story, like so. In this digital era and earn a living. An example are the influencers. They don't code, they're not mathematicians, but they have made a living in the digital era. How can one position themselves?
That you've given an example that is many people are arguing about. Is it
yes, I do.
Influencing? Is it a career? Is it a hobby? Is it I don't want to go into that, but I do have a comment about it. But first thing, going from what doctor said, mentorship is really important because the mentor gives you the pathway. So if you find yourself a mentor the very first time you feel like you're going to do this thing, that is the first best thing you can do. Next thing is what I know about our Ugandans. We don't want to work for free, but you might have to look for volunteer opportunities, look for internship opportunities, of which I understand sometimes internships, people are made to carry coffee and carry papers, but if you find yourself an opportunity in an internship opportunity in that skill that you want to acquire, please go for it. Because what you are looking for is to fill your mind with experience, with professional experience. And if you get an opportunity in an NGO to maybe be a systems administrator, even if it's a very small company, even if it's a very tiny startup that's just boomed up the last day, even if they don't have anywhere to go, as long as you know they have something that is solving a problem in a community, like they are doing something with real users, look for a placement, look for an opportunity. For my coders out there, look for open source projects. They are free of charge. You can just sit in your home, submit code. It is reviewed by anyone in the world as long as they're a maintainer. And then your code gets into production. Out of the blue, you're noticeable by the entire world like that. Free of charge. You have experience you can put on your LinkedIn. You have experience working on something that is being used in the entire world for free without anyone. The problem is we tend to look for money first before we look for the skills we need to get the money. So invest in yourself. look for free courses. These happen a lot. As Fiona said, there will be a WhatsApp where links and stuff are shared. There are a lot of free resources out there. Free code camp. You can learn. Google has a new thing where they give certificates on Coursera like that. There are a lot of things you can do to teach yourself, get a certification. And some of opportunities which are remote currently do not even require experience because they are looking to, maybe it's tagged as an internship, so you can work remotely in your specific skill set, but at least you're getting professional experience. So all you have to look for before you even think about earning money, build yourself up, like build your mind up, so that by the time the job comes, your mind is filled with experience. When in this professional world, you're on your own. There is nothing like, let me ask my friend how to. No, you stand on your own because people hire you to see how your brain works. People hire your brain. They don't hire your papers. People hire your mind. So before you want to get money using your mind, now fill your mind with something. Fill your mind with experience. That experience might be, it will cost you time because you have to invest a lot of time. You have to look for opportunities, which I know currently in Uganda, it's a little bit debatable. What do I do? What do I do? But you will notice there are startups. There's a friend of a friend who has a company, and can I just tell them, can I work for you? Can I be an accountant? Can I be this? Can I, you have a system and no one is looking up to, can I try to see how it works, even though maybe I see how I can figure it out? So there are a lot of things you can try to do to feed your mind and help you out. Another thing is also build your footprint on an international space. Do you have a LinkedIn account? Because that's where people want to look out for you if you really have the skills. And can you really prove that the skills that are there are really in your mind? So I've had a lot of people coming to me, I want to join this. And I'm like, okay, can you please share with me your LinkedIn? I can see if I can forward your link to someone, to a recruiter. Then I don't have a LinkedIn. So the question is, how do I talk to the recruiter about you? Like, when you get the skills in your mind, now build a digital footprint globally. Like, how do I do that? Make sure if it needs GitHub, if it needs a Twitter profile for influencers, that means you have your Twitter profile beefed up, or Instagram, or whatever you need as a digital international footprint should be beefed up enough that someone just looks at your profile and they know, this is the person I want. This is the person I'm looking for. So when we learn that,
Nice.
okay, I beef up my mind. Was that a question, Fiona?
Please proceed. Please proceed.
Okay. When you build up your mind, now how do you showcase what you have built up in your mind? That will totally lead you to, even if you're looking for a job, it won't be easy because many people look for actually entry-level jobs. That won't be hard at all. But just outlining what I've said in a few bullet points: mentorship from what Dr. said, volunteering, internship positions, then also going what to Ron also talked about. If you really see a problem in a community and you feel you have the skills to do that, get friends, get colleagues, join ideas and see how this can come up. If it means looking for venture capital from the West, from people who are already up there, but let us stop pushing responsibility and know that actually we need to fix these problems in our communities by ourselves. If I know there is an issue in our community about health, about roads, about education, how do we fix it and how do we take responsibility? So through doing that, if I try to build a system with my colleagues and my workmates, first of all, that means there should be job opportunities for other people, because when you try to look about tech is not for selfish people. If you want to change your nation, if you want to change a continent, that is for selfless people. You are not going to think about how much you're taking back, how much am I earning? No, changing a nation requires selfless people. Like, it's not about you, it's not about what you're bringing, what you're holding. It's about the change you're making in people's lives. So that will go back. That means you're bringing in more job opportunities for people as you're trying to solve a problem. You're helping other people, and at the same time, maybe you're building a digital hospital, something for some village down there. Yes, but it will help you make a living, but still you're helping other people get employment. You're helping the people in that village also get access to the healthcare they need. And that's just an example. We have to think more about how do we fix problems than earning from fixing a problem. Trust me, you will earn when you really fix the problem. When you fix the problem, you won't even know how much you earn because you will earn way more than you anticipated. But fix your mind, put your digital footprint in check, and then you'll see that you can earn way more than you expected. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you so much, Jackie, Joyce. Actually, that brings me to something I want to tell someone who is watching us. My favorite quote. People find it selfish when I was studying in Europe. My friends kept telling me I love myself more than anyone. It says that investing in yourself is the best investment you will ever make. It will not only improve your life, but it will also improve the life of others around you. And that's what exactly Joy is laboring to explain. Jackie, what is your school of thought in this regard? Same question. How can one position themselves in the digital era and earn a living?
I think that's the same thing the thought that I have, I'll start still from where Joyce was in regards to mentorship. One piece that I wanted to mention in regards to what I have learned is that the way the digital space works is that there's just way too much. And I think Joyce can back me up on this in regards to front end, let's say, front end engineering. There's like a million libraries. There's just a lot of stuff to learn, right? It is almost like Ron said, you have to be a student for life. People always ask me, when will you stop being in school? I literally say, I'm always in school. Why is that so? It's simply because what happens with mentorship is that there is a way your mentor can structure you, especially if you identify one in the field you want to be a part of. The structure comes in. They'll identify. Another thing that I love about mentorship is that because sometimes we are so hard on ourselves, the mentor will identify things about you that probably you can't see. Because what the mentor is always on your side. And what they're doing is making sure that you grow, making sure that you are achieving what you need to achieve in a given time frame. So sometimes we are hard on ourselves. So what the mentor will do, even in my case, a certain mentor of mine identified a certain field that I had even never heard of and told me, you know what, Jackie, considering the things you love to do, can you look into, at the time it was UX, can you look into UX? Can you understand how user experience works? Can you understand how human-computer interaction, what is that? And how you can implement that into your development. So how does somebody earn? Like what Joyce said, that's my thought as well. Identifying the right mentor, I think I had never heard of this term, sponsors. I had never heard of that term until I came to the US. Somebody called a sponsor who not only gives you the tips and all that, I believe, I don't know who mentioned it, but they will also recommend you when in a room where you cannot be, because they have worked with you, because they know you, they will be able to speak on behalf of you for your abilities and the things you can do, and identify and say, hey, you have not met Jackie, but you can hire her for this. She will be able to do it. So making money in the digital space, it requires a lot of reading. I recently attended a conference and there was a lot in regards to Web3, which is kind of the next web. regarding cryptos and NFTs and all those kind of things. So, and one thing that most of the speakers were saying was that they made the wrong move in the beginning with their investments and they made losses. Again, that's where mentorship comes in. If you hear such a person speak, that means they've gone ahead of you and you can rely on them to give you certain information. You don't have to make the same mistakes like they did. Free resources are there, but also identifying the right resources takes a certain eye, takes a certain experience that probably somebody may not have because you're getting into this space for the first time. So if you're really talking about making money, it takes time, and we always speak about time is money. Wasting it is losing it. Investing in time is gaining money. It may not be right away. It takes time. Like I think Joyce said, it takes time identifying the right resources, identifying the right people. It's not about reading everything. It's if you find yourself in the right space, which somebody could ask me, how do I find myself in the right space? Certain people open certain doors. Certain doors are open because you apply yourself to certain things. Diligence opens certain doors. We know that well from the best book there is with diligence. We identifying those things and attaching yourself to the right people and attaching yourself to the right places and spaces gives you the edge. You know, like how do you see yourself? When you identify, how far do you want your business to go? Do you want your business to be in Uganda or you want it for the world? That means there'll be principles and certain things you have to apply yourself to be able to build that, how do you call it? Like presence, right? In the international space. Joyce talked about a GitHub repository, those kind of things. What do people that are making it look like? What do they do? Understanding those things gives you an idea or even gives you the edge to be a part of this space that many people have actually made billions out of. Taking risks. I want to talk about that too. Taking risks, being able to say, hey, I know I've been in this space for so long. Why don't I step out? Why don't I identify something else that I can do? Given that my mentor has probably identified that, hey, you're actually good at design. And they're like, no, I'm not. But really, because of how they've spent time with you and seen certain things, they'll say, hey, can you venture with design in this aspect? You know what I mean? So I would, that's my thought really at this point. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jackie. A single conversation with a wise man is better than 10 years of study. For those of you who have ears, you can hear what the panelists have to tell us. Ron, how can digital technologies be leveraged to scale up businesses? You're a renowned businessman and you've never been wrong at that. Help a business person, a technologist, and someone who is positioning themselves in this digital era.
Well, I think that number one is that if you have a business, right, there's two ways to go. You want to build efficiencies in your business, or you want to build resilience in your business, scalability. There's nothing that can do it at the efficiency, the scalability as technology, right? And so largely, so let's talk about where most businesses are. Either you're trying to start out, so you're looking for ways to create value, and so you need technology to help you create the value. Or maybe you already have the business and you need to reach more people. Technology will help you reach more people. Or maybe basically you're looking to change or shift, wherever you are. Technology is an enabler, and technology has people, and technology is scalable. But on the other hand, it is a scary thing. What do you mean technology? What does that practically mean? So me, I don't I have my boutique. I have a hair salon, or maybe I have a small restaurant. Or maybe I'm a farmer, right? So for everybody, technology is different, and I think that the power, if whatever space you're in, there's tools that have been there to make your business move faster, but you need to know where to look. And when you say leveraging technology, it doesn't mean you need to create the technology. There's no need for you to reinvent the wheel. You need to understand when you can plug in and when you can create. And so that is extremely difficult. And I think to take it back to young people, and I think which is where we still have a real opportunity, that in whatever space you're looking, there's so many opportunities in Uganda to make business and to make money. However, most of those areas are not available to us given our financial situation. It's not that you can just wake up tomorrow and build a real estate empire, right? It's not that tomorrow you can wake up and do an import-export business, that you can do agriculture at scale. So we need to start small. And that's where, for me, technology is extremely important, is that technology allows you to start within your means, right?
Yeah.
That if you're trying to do a transactional business, or you're trying to create a payments business, you're trying to create a boutique, whatever it is, I mean, a few of you within your means can create a platform that reaches more people online. I say that the tech is a great equalizer, that regardless of your financial situation, there is a tool either you can build with your friends, or there's a tool you can buy into that already exists. And so it allows you to start small. Most of the businesses in Kampala require a lot of money that young people might not have. And so I don't want people to be scared of technology, to look at the numbers, to look at these engineers and the coding and all these things and presume that it's extremely expensive. It's not expensive. And some of it, of course, high level, software engineering and stuff is, but we don't need most of that. We don't need most of that. And I'm telling us, somebody who has been across the ecosystem of tech, that for most of the business needs we need to have as young people, as we start out, that it's doable. If you're not able to hire somebody to do it for you to develop, get somebody within your circles who has the skill set, form strategic partnerships. I think that strategic partnerships are the cheapest and easiest way to scale a business, because you rely on the skill sets of others. And so if you cannot do it alone, get a team of people. I see a lot of Ugandans generally, we're scared of sharing ideas. We think that if I tell you my idea, you're going to steal the idea. But an idea is not a business. I tell you I have 10,000 ideas in my head, but they're not businesses, and no one is going to steal them. So let's move away from the fear that somebody is going to steal the idea. No, you don't have a business. First, turn that idea into a business, and your trade secret is the business, is the execution of that, the design, and so on. So we're so scared of sharing ideas, and they die in our head. I read this article of the gentleman that the one place that has the grave is the wealthiest place in the world. The grave is the wealthiest place because there lies all these businesses that were never started, all these good ideas that we hid from our friends and family that we never really implemented, but now they're in the grave. So my friend, don't go to the grave with your ideas. Get a team, get friends, collaborate. So the best way, the cheapest way to use technology is to collaborate, because, and to start a business as well. So for those who want to leverage technology, first start something, right? And you can't start it alone. So we need to collaborate, we need to share, and let's not be worried about someone stealing ideas. No one is stealing ideas. People steal businesses, and you don't have a business. You only have an idea. Yes.
Oh my God, that is so powerful from Ron. Stop being scared of sharing ideas. You don't have a business, you have an idea. I think that is very powerful from Ron. Indeed, tech is the greatest equalizer of our era. And at your youth, guys, we should be able to innovate and revolutionize Africa. Because I still believe that Africa is the next powerhouse for the world. If you believe it, you can clap in the chats wherever you are. And this brings me to our professor, Dr. James. How can the education system help people in non-tech careers to get it quickly and smoothly but also getting value for it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I'm still laughing away Ron's last comment that he mentioned that no one is stealing your idea. Actually, that's the fact that I also heard from one of the workshops I was telling recently, where one of the speakers told us that if someone can steal your idea and do it better than you, then it doesn't have to be you to do it. At the end of the day, it's the people that need the solution that benefit. So don't stick to what you can't do. Give it out. If you can find a way to actualize it, well and good. If someone else can bring it to life, let them do it. Yeah. At the end of the day, we all benefit as an economy, as whatever it might come with. But to go to my question of how our educational sector can be of help in helping people that are not in tech align themselves to technology. We've had a long discussion, and through our discussion, all these things have been tackled. But I'll especially emphasize on something about skills. Jackie mentioned something about skills. Joyce mentioned something about skills. Ron has mentioned something about skills. The technology sector is a do-it sector, that someone may not ask for your documents, for your university certificates, but they want to know what you can do. And that's where now a person who is thinking about transitioning from a non-tech sector into technology should think about which skill do you want to acquire, how can you acquire it, and where do you think it can be applicable. It comes with that value that if you are the first learner, that regardless of whether you're coming from education or from political science or from maybe psychology, we've seen that we all come from very diverse backgrounds. It's just how fast you get that skill and how do you make sure that you take it to the market. Our educational system is, as any system, is a bit.
I think we are having a connect.
No, we can hear him. I think it's Fiona and Fiona.
Okay. I was saying it starts with that we need to find a way to, in our system, in our education system, structure ways of people acquiring quick skills, quick on-demand skills that they can add onto their conventional knowledge from the universities and all that, to be able to align to technology. We mentioned that technology is not only for people who study technology, but anyone who thinks they can innovate, anyone who thinks they can add value to a technology workspace, either in marketing or in whatever scenario they can come into, be handy in. That is going to be a skill that will find value in technology. Technology is not just about coding. Maybe that's something that our audience needs to understand, that not that everyone has to go and learn coding, because then we will not have people to manage technology businesses. We will not have people to market technology businesses. We will not have people to maybe even do design. So it's a, just as Ron was saying, an equalizer that everyone who is capable and has something useful to offer can come in and through partnership, through collaboration, be able to contribute to the space. Four-year, five-year courses. Fiona, I hope.
Okay. Yes, you really exhausted that question very well, Dr. James. Again, you are just building up to what other panelists had earlier mentioned in their submissions. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to allow me to come to the audience. Like we said, this conversation is open. We allow you to ask, what do you want to ask? I see a lot of questions that are coming in. Again, we can be here forever and ever. I just love all the panelists and how they're making their submission. Allow me dive into the questions. For those of you who have been able to send in your questions, we dearly, dearly, dearly appreciate. Let me start with Jackie. Jackie, someone is asking, how do we benchmark ourselves against the global tech guys? And how is it like for you to keep up in upskilling yourself while delivering results at the same time? Jackie, was that clear for you?
Yes, I
How do we
believe it was.
benchmark the global tech guys? And how is it like for you to keep up upskilling yourself while delivering results at the same time?
Okay. So I believe that something was mentioned even on the onset regarding, we've mentioned so many things throughout this whole conversation. And I believe a similar question was asked earlier on in regards to, there is a point where a question was asked about how this space is male dominated, it's male dominated, and I had a piece there that I answered. And I can say this one thing, that how do we benchmark ourselves? So the ones that have gone ahead have already made particular mistakes, and we can learn from those things to start with. Identifying what has been done and getting yourself acquainted with the tech space is very pivotal. And there's another thing that I want to call out, and that is fear. Fear is not a friend of success. It's not a friend of anybody who wants to make it in tech, actually, because it's a lot of unknowns. It's just too dynamic. Things change literally as we're speaking right now. There's probably a new programming language. There's probably a new tech device coming out. There's probably a new something. So we are not supposed to be intimidated by that, in the sense that we have to identify and also specialize. So as you could hear, that Joyce is a front-end engineer. So basically at that point, she has specialized. Specialization helps us dive. There's a place where you can have a breadth of knowledge, like you know a little bit of everything. But if you have depth of knowledge, that gives you an edge. Like if you decide to learn something to its depth, there is nothing they can ask you that you don't know about that thing. So specializing and identifying the things according to your passion, even in the tech space, can give you a competitive edge and benchmarking yourself towards other people, right? So that's one thing I can say. Like, for example, some front-end engineers just focus on, let's say, JavaScript. They don't do anything else but JavaScript, but they're so good at it that you can flip a question in any angle and they will answer it, and they will figure out a way of coming up with some algorithm, but in JavaScript. And you see, that's how they give even the interviews these days. They ask you, what programming language are you comfortable with? And you will answer the question according to that. You understand what I mean? So also specializing will be very imperative for us to set ourselves apart in a space. Oh yeah, actually, they call it subject matter expert. It makes you a subject matter expert, not subjects. Subject matter expert. You are an expert in a particular subject. And then another part of the question was about delivering results. How do I upscale myself and deliver results, I believe, right?
Yes.
So where I work, Amazon has so many leadership principles. I think they're online, they're accessible online. And one of the things is delivering results. And I think there's also bias for action, speed, basically. So again, with me, something I've learned over time with the space that I work, that when you have a problem at hand, when you have something at hand, there's somebody who already knows how to do it. There's somebody who already has the expertise. There's somebody who can answer certain questions, but you have to ask the questions. That's another piece. You have to ask those questions. Otherwise, you will remain in the gray or in the dark without understanding how to go about it. We have to optimize. When you have to deliver results, speed is a necessity. You have to optimize. I think Ron mentioned something from the beginning. Automation. We cannot go manual anymore. That's why there's machine learning. That's why there's AI. There's not taking application. There's problems are better solved, optimized.
Okay.
It saves time. It saves space. it saves so many things. Something that was probably supposed to be done by 20 engineers can probably be
Yes.
done by 2, by a click
Mm,
of an automation script, by a click of some button, by scheduling, by all these things. Optimization is key. So I've learned to find better ways. It's not just enough to good intentions. I think Jeff Bezos said something that good intentions are not enough. There's having good intentions, but there's having data, operating through data, and relearning and unlearning and optimizing and making things better in the way we solve problems. That is the way I deliver results now, because that's the culture that we are in. You learn
Yes.
from the fellows, and you're like, okay, last week I was able to deliver this in maybe 2 hours. Let's just create a template. Let's create an automated system for this testing. I have a background in QA. We used to test manually. You log into the application and do everything. Now you can simply write an automation script. It does the login, it does the testing, it shows you the result, pass or fail. You understand what I mean? So over time, we learn by optimizing and working efficiently.
Yeah, automation is very, very key, Jackie. You're bringing up a very, very, very important narration here. Allow me move quickly to Joyce. Our time is really fast spent. Joyce and Dr. James Kisoro, you have a question. At what level can a child start having tech-related classes, and what institutions can foster such lessons for young birders? I don't know. Should I
start me first? I don't know.
Yeah, I can have you first.
Yes, please go first. I'll come in.
Okay, awesome.
According to me, as long as the child can understand, as long as a child can walk, as long as a child can think, because all that is needed in tech is thinking. Thinking is free. You're not paying to think. No, there's no invoice for you to think. Like, think.
Right. Yeah.
The moment a child can think and reason, they can be exposed to anything related to tech. It can be as simple as numbers. How do you calculate this? Okay, you're calculating 1 + 1. How do we relate it to tech, and how exactly can this child logically and analytically think those tiny calculations? So we help this child to think faster as they grow up, and to show them that actually what you are doing can be what Jack was talking about. How about we automate it so that you don't have to redo it again? Whenever you want it, just do this. So the more they think, they grow up thinking in that manner, it will totally help them. By the time we say, okay, now we have, if the child wants to be a business analyst, we give you data at the age of 5, that young boy or girl will be able to think logically about the data, because the moment they were given the thinking patterns as they were kids, it was easy for them. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Joyce. Doctor, do you share the school of thought with Joyce, and which institutions can you recommend to a parent who is watching us right now?
Thank you, Fiona, and thank you, Joyce, for the submission. I want to start from where Joyce has stopped. That when we talk about when a child can start learning things related to tech, it has to be as early as they can start understanding. And I'll give an example of children these days who
Doctor, okay, you're back.
Sorry, if you gave that phone game or that computer game to a 1980 or 1960 era child, I don't think they would really even know where to tap. So that is already some learning happening, that exposure to technology at that early age already gives them the interest. Right now, the gaming industry is worth billions of worth around the globe. That is just one part. When it comes to learning, I think we shouldn't only limit it to the formal sit in class, listen to the teacher or the lecturer, take examinations and get a mark. But exposure to these things and being able to appreciate how they work and all that. In the formal setting where you know that a student maybe is being formally guided on principle of learning, I think from experience, I would say around 6, 7, 8. I've tried to teach myself holiday makers computer skills, basic skills. We've struggled a little with a 5-year-old. They really couldn't concentrate that long. They couldn't sit in class and listen out maybe a 1-hour lecture, a 1-hour class. But you would see that they were very interested in touching the computer and trying to click here and there, creating shapes. That is already learning. And I think that's where we need to start from. I would encourage any parent who has a child whom they want to bring into tech. First of all, get them the environment, the devices around them, that they will touch them, they'll feel them, they will try to tinker with them. They might break 1 or 2, but it's part of the journey. It's the cost you have to bear with at some point.
Yeah.
And when it comes to bring them to school where you can't take them, I would think of so many holiday making holiday packages at BillBrain. BillBrain being more than the technologies company, we run an institute where we have short courses, where we currently have holiday makers. Madam Fiona, I'm not trying to pass an ad, but
no. It's important that people can hear it and also have a reliable source where they can get information. Yeah.
Thank you. We do have holiday makers who from the schools 25th or 28th, they're already on. And I think this will be something we do every other month until the holiday is over. So we welcome those. We want to really have our part of input into transforming this sector and empowering as many people as possible.
Thank you so much,
there are so many other
Doctor.
places. There are so many other institutions out there that are doing a good job, and maybe that's a conversation we can pick up and
we can have on our WhatsApp groups. Again, for you, if you want to join the WhatsApp group, we'll be able to give you updated information on anything regarding tech or outside technology. We'll do our best to share. Ron, someone has a question for you. Diana, you started Hello Foods in a virgin space. How easy was it to start that innovation? What government boxes need to be checked before that idea goes to the public? The case study here is in Uganda. Should I repeat for you the question?
No, I understood the first question. What's a case study?
Yeah, so the first question is saying you started Hello Food in a virgin space. They're accrediting that. How easy was it to start that innovation? And then the other thing that follows is what government boxes need to be checked before that idea goes to the public?
Okay, so there's two things. First of all, I'm not a believer that the first mover advantage applies when it comes to technology, right? So we know very well that before Facebook, there was MySpace, right? You remember MySpace? Before iPhone and Samsung, there was BlackBerry. They don't exist. So in technology, you don't need to be the first mover, you need to be the best. People will switch to get new softwares, get new products. It's about being the best always. So when we did Hello Food, indeed, we were the first movers. But being a first mover has its own disadvantage. When we started, obviously, I spoke to restaurants in Uganda and in Nairobi and in Kigali in Tanzania. I found that actually none of them really understood delivery. They didn't have packaging materials, had to buy them packaging materials. They didn't have delivery bikes. So I had to become a logistics company. And then I made a mistake. When we first started, we just did a website and we thought we'd slap on menus and customers will order. We'll quickly learn that Ugandans only access the internet through their phones. So what to develop an application. So we made a lot of mistakes. Now, of course, to survive, and especially the first mover, you have to build the whole infrastructure, logistics, you have to do the tech. How do you receive cash and remit? You have to build our own cash remittance system. So as an entrepreneur, you have to be comfortable with the unknown. You have to be willing to resolve all the challenges that you face. So whether it's logistics, whether it's technology or payments, if you decide to go in tech, those are on you. There's no government help, there's nobody to assist you at all. But that's why there's a business proposition. If these were not challenges, you would have no value proposition to customers and vendors alike. So the fact that there was no one doing this, the fact that restaurants were not doing delivery, the fact that restaurants had no delivery bikes, had no packaging materials, it gave me a business opportunity to actually do this and charge them for it. And I had to educate them to show them that actually you can still make money after you pay me 25% commission. We realized that you realize that many of them were just making up prices. So restaurant X on this street is charging 20,000 for chicken meal. The guy next door will put their chicken meal at 15,000 because they want to be cheaper than the other guy. So the whole city was a conglomerate of people with made up menu prices. So you had to educate them about how do you make a menu, how do you cost a menu, how do you all these things. So part of that, educating the customer and the vendor, was my business proposition. So educating the customer and the vendor, resolving the issues of logistics, intake and payments. Without those challenges, I had no proposition to ask a customer, to ask the restaurant and the vendor to pay me. So the challenges that you face is exactly why you also make the money. And so in terms of government, basically government does not exist. I mean, maybe government came later to create OTT tax, and then so government has not been, in fact, has been a hindrance, but much later. I would say entrepreneurs don't worry about government, right? You know, do things the right way, government will sort itself out. But don't worry on a fast mover. You can wake up tomorrow and compete with Jumia and beat Jumia. You can wake up tomorrow and compete with Google, compete with Amazon, and compete with all these guys. And it's not that you'll compete and have the same scale of the business, but you have your own pie that's going to bring so much value to your life, that's going to make your family happy and comfortable. So there's so many opportunities. Don't see that because Google is here or Jumia is here or this company is here, you cannot create something that's uniquely yours. You can't compete, you can't thrive, and you can't grow where the big guys are also doing it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ron. And maybe before you go off again on the pace, I have a very interesting question that I want to make it as the last. I've looked, questions are very many, but I beg the viewers, most of them have been answered as these panelists were, submitting their answers. But we have a very important question. Is it wise, Ron, you've been a CEO, you've employed quite many. Is it wise to leave a company that only promotes men into spaces of authority, or should one stay and fight it out?
Okay, so I suppose this is from a female.
Yes.
Well, number one is that discrimination or creating glass ceilings, whether it's based on gender, ethnicity, or sex orientation, is bad business, right? So in a company that actually limits the opportunity of people based on anything but talent and merit will not survive, right? So whichever company this is, don't worry, maybe you should leave because that company will not succeed anyways, because at the end of the day, getting good talent is not easy, especially in our country. And any company that puts some sort of perimeter and hires only men in management or hires only this group in management is not a good company to work for because it's making bad business decisions. I don't take a sentimental route that we should hire women because we should fill quotas. No, women are extremely talented, equally talented as men. And so before that, we need to make sure they get the right opportunity, right? That women have the same opportunity as men to get into school. In most countries now in the West, there's more women in universities than men.
Yes.
Uganda, we're slowly getting there, but we need to do that. But once it gets to talent acquisition, I think that any company that doesn't do so, to the question of that, I'm sorry it's happening to you. I think you have a responsibility to speak up. Before you leave, make sure management knows that they're making very bad decisions, that by not growing women who have equally the same impact and maybe even more in some cases, that they are losing, the business is losing. I'm sorry, if you don't change, they will lose good people like you. And so in the end, the whole company loses. So you have a responsibility to speak up, to let management know, to let HR know that this is not how we do business. And so any business that doesn't promote the best people will not survive.
Yeah.
So maybe
I think it's so.
because it's a bad business.
I hear you. I hear you. Let me get a lady to give me their approach in this regard. Joyce.
I think I can encourage my sister before leaving is to make your voice heard. And you can do that by first approach HR. This is what's happening. Can this be done better? Because I worked for this. I should qualify for this according to if there is a standard of how things are done. I meet the standard, so I apply for it. I should get the promotion. Why am I not getting the promotion? Right?
Yeah.
If it's like, no, it's only meant to do that, then my sister, you would quit, but make sure your voice is heard so that, like Ron said, they should know they're making the wrong decision. Speak up, don't die inside there alone. Speak up, make sure they know that you know they are making the wrong decision. Yep.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Joyce, our audience, allow me to take the last question. The questions are quite so many, and I don't think I can exhaust them, but maybe we can make good as the week goes on. Technology. Doctor, does a child need to first have passion, or you grow them into the culture of
question? And when it comes to technology, I think just like any other area, any other sector, it starts with interests. It's very easy to thrive in an area where you have interests, where no one is going to push you to want to learn something new, where no one is going to push you to try to really move from one point to another. So if you identify a child and see that they are so interested in technology, that's already a very good starting point. Just see how you can guide them in that line. It's not that those that don't express interest in technology wouldn't find value for technology. It might come with time, but the very basic point of identifying who can easily align is seeing who really has a passion for these things. Jackie gave us a story and told us of her journey, the exposure to all these things, her dad supporting her on that. You can't see how far that can lead someone. So let's start with that. But when you find that actually maybe someone has finished university, for example, they have gained a whole perspective about how technology can be used to solve problems, they can also still as well start from there and do just as well as someone who started early.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. Again, guys, allow me, I'm really running out of time. There's so much to be discussed, and I believe we can have this conversation going on our Twitter space, on our Twitter handle, on our YouTube. The video is gonna stay up. You can always come back and revisit some things some of the panelists have been able to share. It's been a wonderful panelists. I'll start with you, Joyce. Where do we go from here in respect to kickstarting a career? In 1 minute or two.
In respect to kickstarting your career, just look for the passion that is really the driver. Passion is your driver. I don't want to lie. I don't want to sugarcoat it. If you do not have the passion, most probably you might fail at it. Look for the driver is all that you need, whether it's into data, whether it's into analyzing, whether it's into engineering, whether it's into design, whether it's into sales. Just look for the passion. Yeah.
Just look for the passion. That is a parting shot from Joy. Jackie, where do we go from here in regards to women in STEM?
To women in STEM is
1 minute or two.
Yep. Thank you. Your dreams are valid. Let me just say it that way. Your dreams are valid. You have an opportunity to act on those dreams. You have an opportunity to build something that no one has ever seen. and that opportunity is now. It's better to start now than later. Yeah, that's it from my end.
Thank you so much to the lady watching us. Your dream is valid. It's up to you to act on it. Again, like Ron said, you don't have a business. Feel free to share the ideas. Dr. James, where do we go from here in respect to education and innovation?
Yes, thank you so much.
In a minute or two.
When you think about our education, less mainstream technology, I think we need to go back to the drawing board, restructure all our programs, try to bring them up to the latest point in time that we are at in the 21st century, which is driven by technology, regardless of the sector. When we make sure that we're not left behind.
Okay, I think I'd lost you a bit. Please proceed.
Yes, when it comes to innovation, you think about the opportunities that technology is providing, that you make a solution here which can serve the entire globe, the internet being the driver. And let's leverage that. Let's identify where our strength is as a country, as a society, which products can we offer to the world? Is it tourism? Is it agriculture? Is it, we can use it in that context.
Okay.
You have the value from technology that way.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. James. And Ron, finally to Ron, what is your parting shot? Where do we go from here in respect to business and innovation?
Well, number one is that the future is great, but the future will be great only if we participate as young people. That we need to move off the sidelines. We need to stop complaining on social media. We need to stop wasting time on social media, on TikTok and Instagram, and actually do things, right? There are a lot of people who are complaining, and a lot of raising a whole generation of complainers and not doers. And so innovation in the new age is not for the complainers, it's for the doers. There's nothing government will do for you. There's nothing that society can do for us. We have to take the bull by the horn and create things, right? Let us be the innovation we want to see. Let us be the makers of the business we want to see, right? And so once we change our mindset, that it's us who will do things, we'll make things happen. But there's nothing government will offer us. We need to make sure that we're creating and participating in this new industrial revolution, which is technology. And I say this with all conviction, that technology is a great equalizer, that you can innovate with very little. And I believe that we have more and more young people who have the right skill set, especially to collaborate, right? We have young coders, developers who are coming, who need business developers, who need marketeers. So there's the ground is, the opportunity is there. And God knows we have so many challenges to turn into businesses. So for every challenge we complain about on social media is the real business opportunity. So my parting shot is, guys, no complaining, we do things. We get off the sidelines and make it happen, because complaining will get us nowhere, right? Yeah. Change makers are people who do, who act. And business is not about winning, it's about trying. When you try problems, you'll make money. That's it.
Wow, thank you so much, Ron. Technology is the great equalizer we have, and we're going to keep this conversation going on Nova's Twitter page at Novus UG. Also, the video will still stay on our YouTube channel at Novus UG or Novus Innovations. You can follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, and for those of you that are interested in being joined to the WhatsApp group from Opportunity Scholar, wonderful audience. Those are on Twitter Space and those on YouTube. Thank you so much for being part of this episode of Her Tech Space. Also, wherever you are, allow me put that clapping emoji to our panelists. They have been awesome. Aren't they been awesome? I believe we've learned a lot, and I believe a lot more can be learned as we go forward in having these conversations, in normalizing and having meaningful conversations about technological innovations that are solving societal challenges a wrap, and it's a good night. Thank you so much once again. Bye.